In the heart of Europe, nestled along the banks of the Danube, Hungary stands at a pivotal moment in its modern history. Once seen as a bridge between East and West, Hungary is now shaking the continent's foundations, sending shockwaves through the European Union. Prime Minister Viktor Orban's government has taken the unprecedented step of beginning formal talks to exit the EU and seek membership in the BRICS economic bloc, a move that has stunned both allies and critics alike. This is more than a political maneuver, it's a bold declaration of a new national identity, a statement that Hungary is charting its own course, regardless of the consequences. Years of escalating tensions with Brussels over judicial independence, media freedom, and LGBTQ+ rights have led to this breaking point. Disputes that once seemed manageable have now become irreconcilable, fueling public debate and division within Hungary itself. Orban frames the move as defending Hungarian sovereignty against what he calls EU overreach, fueling a powerful narrative of national pride, resistance, and self-determination that resonates with many Hungarians. The BRICS bloc, now expanded to include major energy producers and emerging economies, offers Hungary an alternative economic future, one that promises new partnerships and opportunities outside the traditional Western sphere. For a nation heavily dependent on energy imports and global trade, the appeal is clear: access to new sources of energy, diversified supply chains, and the potential for economic growth. New markets, new alliances, and the chance to redefine Hungary's place in the world economy are now within reach. At the same time, Orban points to a stagnating EU, struggling with internal divisions, slow growth, and what he describes as a loss of vision and purpose. The implications are staggering, untangling 2 decades of integration, unraveling countless agreements, and directly challenging the EU's core values of unity and shared governance. Unlike Brexit, which was driven by economic and migration concerns, this is an ideological rejection of the EU's liberal democratic model, a fundamental clash over the future of European identity. Every European capital is now forced to confront the Union's future, questioning its cohesion, its values, and its ability to hold together in the face of growing dissent. The world is watching as Hungary navigates between 2 competing global orders, its next steps poised to reshape not only its own destiny, but the very fabric of Europe itself. Hungary's 2004 EU accession was celebrated as a triumphant return to Europe, marking the end of decades of isolation behind the Iron Curtain. For many Hungarians, joining the European Union symbolized hope, progress, and a new era of prosperity. The streets of Budapest erupted in joy as citizens waved both Hungarian and EU flags, believing that their future was now firmly tied to the West. EU membership brought billions in funding, fueling economic modernization across the country. New highways, renovated schools, and gleaming infrastructure projects transformed Hungary's landscape, while foreign investment surged. The promise of a better life seemed within reach for many families, as the country's economy began to grow at an unprecedented pace. But after Viktor Orban's Fidesz party regained power in 2010, Hungary's path diverged sharply from the European mainstream. Orban's government promised stability and national renewal, but soon began to challenge the very values that had defined Hungary's EU journey. Orban's illiberal state project brought sweeping constitutional changes, tightened control over the media, and redefined the balance of power in government. Election laws were rewritten, sparking mass protests and putting Budapest on a collision course with Brussels. Critics warned that democracy itself was under threat. The EU responded with Article 7 proceedings, a rare and serious step reserved for member states accused of undermining core democratic principles. Billions in EU funds were frozen, with Brussels demanding anti-corruption reforms and greater respect for the rule of law. Hungary's leaders called this financial blackmail, framing the standoff as a fight for national sovereignty and self-determination. The government argued that Brussels was punishing Hungary for defending its own interests. The conflict only deepened. Brussels saw democratic backsliding and authoritarian drift, while Budapest accused the EU of overreach and double standards. Orban's government skillfully sold this narrative at home, invoking Hungary's long history of resisting foreign domination, from the Ottoman Empire to the Soviet Union, and now, as they claimed, the EU. The EU, once seen as a partner and protector, gradually became viewed as an oppressor in the eyes of many Hungarians, fueling resentment and division. This powerful nationalist message has made the idea of leaving the EU, once unthinkable, seem not just possible, but for some, absolutely necessary to preserve Hungary's identity and independence. Over the years, tensions have only escalated, setting the stage for Hungary's most radical pivot in modern history. Now the country stands on the brink of a historic break, facing a crossroads that could redefine its place in Europe and the world for generations to come. Hungary's main motivation for considering an exit from the European Union is deeply ideological, rooted in a vision of national sovereignty and cultural identity that Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has championed for years. Orbán's model of illiberal democracy stands in stark contrast to the EU's foundational values of liberalism, pluralism, and shared governance. This fundamental clash has led to growing friction between Budapest and Brussels. The Fidesz government faces constant scrutiny from EU institutions, especially the European Court of Justice, which regularly challenges Hungary's laws and policies. This oversight is seen by Orbán's allies as a direct threat to their political project and national autonomy. By leaving the EU, Hungary would insulate itself from external legal and political pressures, gaining the freedom to shape its own laws and policies without interference from Brussels. On the economic front, Orbán's government increasingly views the EU as economically stagnant, weighed down by bureaucracy and slow growth. In contrast, the BRICS Plus bloc is seen as dynamic, offering new opportunities for trade, investment, and development. The hope is that by pivoting towards BRICS Plus, Hungary could secure privileged access to fast-growing markets, especially in sectors like energy, technology, and manufacturing, areas vital for the country's future prosperity. Sovereignty is a central theme. Hungary wants the freedom to pursue its own foreign policy, particularly regarding Russia and China, and to position itself as a bridge between East and West, rather than being tied to EU consensus. Domestically, leaving the EU would also secure Fidesz's political future by cutting off EU funding and support for opposition groups, making it harder for critics to challenge Orbán's rule. By consolidating power and controlling the national narrative, Orbán can further entrench his party's dominance and shape public opinion without external checks. Ultimately, it's a high-stakes gamble, trading the stability and norms of the EU for a new political ecosystem where national conservatism and sovereignty can thrive, but also where risks and uncertainties loom large. Hungary is betting its future on a shifting world order, hoping to carve out a unique place for itself as global alliances and power structures evolve. BRICS is a very different club from the EU, less integrated but vast and growing. For Hungary, the draw is access to huge markets and energy security, with BRICS Plus including major producers like Russia and Saudi Arabia. The new development bank offers alternative financing, free from EU political strings. Politically, BRICS values non-interference and sovereignty, appealing to Orbán's government. Within BRICS, Hungary would face no lectures on rule of law or media freedom, but challenges loom. BRICS lacks a single market, and Hungary would be a small player among giants. Trade deals would be bilateral and complex, with limited influence for Hungary. The promise is potential, not guaranteed benefits. Hungary trades deep EU integration for a looser, less certain alliance. The shift is bold, but the risks are real. Hungary's EU exit would be even more complex than Brexit. Article 50 triggers 2 years of tough negotiations, covering citizens' rights, financial settlements, and border management. Hungary's Schengen membership and foreign euro ties add layers of difficulty. Reimposing borders would disrupt travel and trade. Financial disputes could get ugly. Simultaneously, Hungary would negotiate BRICS entry, likely welcomed by Russia and China as a geopolitical win. BRICS accession is less formal, focusing on political alignment and participation in joint initiatives. After exit, Hungary would seek a new EU trade deal, but Brussels would drive a hard bargain to deter copycats. The process is fraught, with high stakes for both Hungary and the EU. The world will watch every step. Leaving the EU would hit Hungary's economy hard and fast. Over 75% of exports go to the EU. Industries like automotive rely on seamless trade. Exit means tariffs, customs checks, and regulatory hurdles, potentially devastating for key sectors. Loss of EU funds would blow a hole in the budget. BRICS loans can't match EU grants. The government touts long-term gains from BRICS, new markets, energy deals, and freedom to subsidize industries. But most economists are skeptical. Currency devaluation, inflation, and capital flight are likely. Western investment, the backbone of Hungary's economy, could dry up. The transition from EU integration to BRICS partnership is a monumental gamble. Short-term pain is almost certain, long-term benefits are speculative. Hungary risks trading stability for uncertainty. Hungary's exit would shake Europe's geopolitical landscape. For the EU, it's a direct challenge to its core values. Far more than Brexit, the move could embolden other nationalist governments to confront Brussels or consider leaving. Hungary would become a pro-BRICS outlier inside EU and NATO territory, creating friction with neighbors. The Visegrad Group would fracture, and regional stability could suffer. For NATO, a member aligning with Russia and China is unprecedented and deeply troubling. Questions would arise about intelligence sharing and Hungary's commitment to collective defense. The move accelerates the fragmentation of the global order into rival blocs. Hungary trades its role in the West for junior partnership in the East. The country becomes a flashpoint in a new global rivalry. The world's response to Hungary's move is sharply divided. EU leaders express dismay and vow tough consequences, determined to deter others. BRICS nations, especially China and Russia, welcome Hungary as validation of their vision. The US is deeply concerned, fearing NATO unity will be undermined. Washington scrambles to assess the fallout, worried about a BRICS-aligned Hungary inside NATO. In the Balkans, EU hopefuls grow anxious. Hungary's exit complicates their path. Some in the global south see Hungary's pivot as defiance against Western dominance. For them, it's proof that alternatives to the Western order are real. The world is split. Hungary's move is both a warning and an inspiration. The stakes for Europe and the global order have never been higher. Hungary's break with the EU and pivot to BRICS is a watershed moment. It's the result of years of ideological divergence and a quest for sovereignty. Hungary trades the certainty of EU integration for the uncertain promise of a new world order. The economic and political costs will be steep and immediate. Hungary risks isolation, regional instability, and a crisis within NATO. For the West, it's a crisis. For the East, a strategic victory. Hungary is now a contested piece in a global power struggle. The future is uncertain. Will Hungary become a bridge to a new world, or will a new Iron Curtain fall? The world watches as history unfolds.